Hello and welcome to Stevens Road Baptist Youth Group Online. We are so glad you are here tonight. Why don't you take a minute just to say hi in the live chat? Let us know you are here with us. We'd love to know who is watching with us. If you're watching this later, not during the premiere, then you can just leave a note in the comments saying, hey, I was here. And yeah, so we are going to start off with a little would you rather, then we'll have our teaching name, and then we are going to have a quick spot game, and then we're going to head over to Zoom for some fun and hangout time. So here we go. Would you rather? So when I say the would you rather, then if it is the first option, just put a 1 in the chat. If it is the second option you like best, you'd rather that, then put a 2 in the chat. You can also write out the word if you want. And so here we go. Would you rather go into the past and meet your ancestors, or go into the future and meet your great-grandchildren? So 1, meet your ancestors in the past, or 2, go into the future and meet your great-grandchildren. Great-great-grandchildren. Would you rather have more time or more money? More time or more money? Would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button on your life? A rewind button or a pause button on your life? Would you rather be able to talk to animals or speak all foreign languages? Would you rather talk to animals or speak all foreign languages? Would you rather win the lottery or live twice as long? Would you feel worse if no one showed up to your wedding or to your funeral? Here's a good one. Would you rather be without internet for a week or without your phone? And if you don't have a phone, let's say your gaming console. Would you rather lose your vision or your hearing? Would you rather become someone else or just stay you? Here's one. Would you rather be Batman or Spider-Man? I'm Batman. Would you rather be stuck on a broken ski lift or a broken elevator? For your birthday, would you rather receive cash or gifts? Would you rather go to a movie alone or to dinner alone? Would you rather always say everything that's on your mind or never speak again? Would you rather make a phone call or send a text? And here's our last one. Kind of a bit of a serious one. Would you rather put a stop to war or end world hunger? A stop to war or end world hunger. All right, we're going to go on to our teaching time, and then we will have a very quick round of Spot It. Well, last week we kicked things off by talking a little about cancel culture. So if you want to hear all about that, you can catch our video from last week if you weren't with us, and how social media can sometimes be a pretty ugly and angry place. I know I've been seeing a lot more of that lately. I think especially as people are home and not getting out, they're going online. And it can be a bit of a nasty and crazy place. But social media can also be a pretty wholesome and entertaining place, a fun place, a place where we can connect with each other, we can message each other. And it's also fun when it comes to the older generations when they get involved, especially when they start sending texts or messaging, or I don't know if anyone's ever seen when grandmothers respond to a post on Facebook, or if they're on Instagram, it usually happens on Facebook, and they sign their name, Love Grammy, and it's just really cute. And sometimes I look at those autocorrect texts, and they're from parents or from grandparents, and they're so funny with the autocorrected. I know when my dad's not really, he tried the computer a long time ago and decided it wasn't for him. So it's mostly my mom who's on Facebook, and I do FaceTime with them quite often. They got the hang of Zoom. I had to give them tech support on that. But when we were first trying to learn Facebook, when my mom was, and even sometimes now, I was often saying things like, put your face in front of the camera. Nice ceiling. I'd rather see your face than the floor. And I think it's wonderful that my mom is she's pretty great actually with Facebook and technology. But there's definitely times when she gets in touch and says, how do I do this? And so I have to walk through that with her. And not really just with her, but with my older siblings as well. That's okay though. I don't mind helping them out. And sometimes I do have to reach into my patience bucket a little bit, but that's okay. What about you? Do you have family members who are a little confused about how the internet works, or maybe even just they got a new smartphone and they're like, what do I do with this? Have you ever had to help someone solve issues with having to use their phone or social media? I'm sure you're happy to help your grandparents, aunts, uncles, or parents figure out technology questions for the first 50 questions, at least anyway, maybe. But after that, I'd understand if you started to lose your patience. It's easy to get frustrated, especially with family, when someone needs help doing something that seems super easy and basic to us. Especially even for you guys. There's so many times where I'm like, hey, tell me about this new game, or tell me about how this app works, or what apps are you guys using? Because you guys are so much the generation who's just lived with this stuff, and I haven't. There might be times you just want to go tell Aunt Edna to go and just Google it. But then you might have to explain what Googling something means. Well, every day we face opportunities to help others in small ways, whether it's showing your grandparents or another family member how to use emojis, or helping a kid tie their shoe, or letting someone at your lunch table know they have food stuck in their teeth. Depending on the person, the need, your mood, and how busy you are, maybe you help them, or maybe you don't. Everyone is helpful and generous sometimes. But what about the times we'd rather not be helpful? When we're too busy, we are in a rush to get somewhere, we're annoyed, we're tired, we're hungry, or someone else will help if we don't. So it's okay. Every day, we're surrounded by people who need help with things that are a lot more serious than figuring out how to post photos on Facebook. When we're in need, we're at our most vulnerable. But unfortunately, We don't always respond with compassion, care, or concern when we see someone else in need. Instead, we respond with impatience, discomfort, disgust, or maybe suspicion. The reality is that sometimes we'll be the ones who are able to help, and sometimes we'll be the ones in need. Knowing that, wouldn't you like to live in a world where we all cared for each other when we're at our most vulnerable? Well, in the Gospels, those are the first 4 books of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They tell us stories of Jesus' life. And there we find examples of Jesus meeting the needs of the most vulnerable people. Jesus' days were often interrupted by people's cries for help. When he'd be in crowds and teaching and someone would be there, or when he was walking to his next destination. In one story, there was a blind man named Bartimaeus, and he shouted at Jesus while he walked down the road. Let me read that story for you. It's in Mark 10:46-52. Then they reached Jericho, and as Jesus and his disciples left town, a large crowd followed him. A blind beggar named Bartimaeus was sitting beside the road. When Bartimaeus heard that Jesus of Nazareth was nearby, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." "Be quiet," many of the people yelled at him. But he only shouted louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." When Jesus heard him, he stopped and said, "Tell him to come here." So they called the blind man. "Cheer up," they said. "Come on, he's calling you." Bartimaeus threw aside his coat, jumped up, and came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked. "My rabbi," the blind man said, "I want to see." And Jesus said to him, "Go, for your faith has healed you." Instantly, the man could see, and he followed Jesus down the road. Here, Bartimaeus pleaded for help, but was told to be quiet by those around him. The crowds couldn't be bothered. To them, he was just another beggar, not worthy of their help or attention. But to Jesus, Bartimaeus was worthy of his time, his attention, and his help. There's another story on another day in Luke chapter 8. Jesus was busy again. He was on his way to save the life of a dying girl when he was interrupted by someone who needed his help. On the other side of the lake, the crowds welcomed Jesus because they had been waiting for him. Then a man named Jairus, a leader of the local synagogue, came and fell at Jesus' feet, pleading with him to come home with him. His only daughter, who was about 12 years old, was dying. As Jesus went with him, he was surrounded by crowds. A woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding, and she could not find a cure. Coming up behind Jesus, she just touched the fringe of his robe. Immediately, the bleeding stopped. "Who touched me?" Jesus asked. Everyone denied it, and Peter said, "Master, this whole crowd is pressing up against you." But Jesus said, "Someone deliberately touched me, for I felt healing power go out from me." When the woman realized that she could not stay hidden, she began to tremble and fell to her knees in front of him. The whole crowd heard her explain why she had touched him and that she had been immediately healed. "Daughter," he said to her, "your faith has made you well. Go in peace." Because of her gender and illness, this woman would not have been seen as someone worthy of Jesus' time or attention. She most likely believed this herself. That's why she didn't try to speak to Jesus, but simply reached out to touch the edge of his clothes. Instead, after all, Jesus was an important man and she wasn't. But to Jesus, she was worthy of his time, his attention, and his help. He spoke to her, called her daughter, and met her needs with love. But Jesus didn't just show us how to care for people in need. He talked about it too. Shortly before his death, Jesus used a parable to explain something important about God and the kingdom of God. In this parable, he used two animals, sheep and goats. Who doesn't like a cute sheep and goat photo or video? Before we read what Jesus had to say about sheep and goats, though, there's something you need to know about these animals. Goats are pretty independent. Even when they're members of a herd, they often explore or head out alone. They tend to be more concerned about themselves than they are about their goat friends. So they'll be eating on their own or just hanging out by themselves. Sheep, on the other hand, are all about their herd. They stick together at all times. Keep this in mind as we read this parable from Jesus. And this is in Matthew 25. But when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit upon his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered in his presence, and he will separate the people as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep at his right hand and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then these righteous ones will reply, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will say, "I tell you the truth. When you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me." Then he continues on, and he approaches and talks to those on his left who were considered the goats. "For I was hungry, and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty, and you didn't give me a drink. I was a stranger, and you didn't invite me into your home. I was naked, and you didn't give me clothing. I was sick and in prison, and you didn't visit me." Then they will reply, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and not help you?" And he will answer, "I tell you the truth. When you refused to help the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you are refusing to help me." And they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous will go into eternal life. How does Jesus judge who are sheep and who are goats? He makes his decision according to how they treat people, specifically people who are in need. The goats were the unrighteous goats, were the ones who didn't care for people in need, maybe because they were too busy thinking about themselves. The righteous sheep were the ones who saw someone in need and ran to help, maybe because they saw themselves as part of a herd and were concerned about the other sheep nearby. According to Jesus, sheep are the kind of people who keep their eyes open for the needs of others and ask, "How can I help?" Who knew farm animals could teach us so much about caring for each other? Through his example and his teachings, Jesus consistently cared for people who had been canceled, forgotten, disrespected, and ignored because of their needs. And now he challenges you to do the same, to love people who are in need. When we study the actions and the teachings of Jesus, here are a few things we can learn about how to meet the needs of others and how not to. It's not only about our actions, it's about our hearts. Jesus doesn't challenge us to only act concerned about others or to put on a show of meeting people's needs. In his parable, the sheep didn't know anyone had noticed that what they did for others, but they did it anyway. Jesus doesn't only care about what we do, he cares about what's happening inside our hearts and minds too. It's not only about loving others, it's about loving God. Jesus challenges us to love others well, yes, but he's letting us in on a secret. When we love others by meeting their needs, we show our love for Jesus. Every time we care for someone who is vulnerable, it's a gift of love and worship to God. It's not about what we have, it's about what we can give. As we've talked about meeting the needs of others, maybe you've thought, I can't help anyone. My family doesn't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot to give. But Jesus wasn't talking to only wealthy or important people in these passages. He was talking to ordinary people like you and me. No matter what we have, maybe time, compassion, money, friendship, skills, whatever it is, Jesus says we can use it for God's purpose and kingdom when we give sacrificially, passionately, and willingly. It's not about them, it's about us. Sometimes when we talk about meeting others' needs, we talk as though we're the people with all the power, resources, or stuff to share, while people in need are a separate group of people over there. When we think this way, it's easy to see someone as if they're less valuable than we are, even while we're serving them. But do you remember the way Jesus spoke to the blind man and the sick woman who needed his help? He treated them not just with compassion, but with respect. He made the crowds pay attention to them. Instead of speaking for them, he asked them to speak for themselves. Jesus didn't just give people charity, he gave people respect. We can do that too. When we remember that it's not about us and the people who need us. There is only us. We are all equally loved, seen, and valued by God. So how do we do this? How can we care for the people around us who are in need? How do we practically meet the needs of people around us? There are so many opportunities all around us because there are so many needs that are around us. If we're paying attention, just like Jesus noticed the needs of Bartimaeus and the woman, what would it look like for you to notice and then respond in love to those in need around you? Well, here are some ideas. Maybe in the chat, if I didn't list one that you thought of as we were chatting, as I was talking, then write that in there. Could you give a meal to someone who needs it? Have a conversation with someone who's lonely. Help a classmate to study over the lunch break. Help a friend perfect their free throw before basketball tryouts or some kind of other sport. Check in on someone who's going through a tough time. If you're at Prince Andrew High, which many of our high schools are, you could donate to the Panther Pantry or donate to a local food bank. What are other ways that we can show love to those in need? How can we pay attention so we recognize what people need? You know, this past week was a rough one for me. Things didn't go as planned, and I was a little bit stressed and at times a little anxious, but someone left a card with some money for our family to order takeout or to go for a dine-in meal because they understand how stressful meal times can be for a family during the week. It made my day, it lifted my spirits, and it was the encouragement that I needed that day. Sometimes helping someone in need is just sending an encouraging message because maybe you notice that they seemed a bit down. And sometimes it's donating food or clothes. It really can be anything. In Jesus' time, people in need were often canceled by society instead of helped. They were ignored, judged, or left to fend for themselves. And we still have that problem today, don't we? But if you want to love like Jesus loves, love people who are in need. When you do, it's like you're doing it for Jesus himself. All right, we're going to have a quick round of Spot It. As soon as you see what is the same on both cards, then you can just type Spot It in the chat or got it or yes or whatever is the easiest for you to type in. Maybe a 1 for got it, whatever it is. Just put something in there, a happy face. And if you want to challenge yourself, you can type in what it is, but it does go quick. You only have 4 seconds to spot what's the same on both cards. So have fun and good luck. Well, that's pretty much all the time we have here on YouTube for our teaching portion. We're going to head over to Zoom. I'll put the info in the live chat and just want to let you guys know that we will be online for the next 2 weeks. We heard on Friday that the protocols, the restrictions have not been lifted. So the gathering amount is only 10. And since we have more than 10 for youth group, we've decided that we are going to wait until that expands and so that everyone stays safe. And if you're wondering, well, it says faith gatherings. Youth group is technically not a faith gathering. So we are going to hang off and continue to meet this way. And I'm praying that soon, if everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, that we can meet back in person, because I want to be in person just as much as you want to be in person. And so also a reminder, if you're reading through the NTX 90 plan with us, awesome if you think you can do it in 90 days. But those of us who were in our Facebook Live group the other day on Thursday afternoon, we decided that we're going to take it at our own pace. So if that's 1 chapter a day, 3 chapters a day, more than that, that is great. The idea is that we're just trying to build a habit of reading God's word every day. And so you can, if you're in high school, grade 10 to 12, then you can connect with us in our Facebook group. If you don't have that already, let me know and I'll get it to you. And grade 6, we really hope we can be in person soon so I can get you your Bibles. And also, if you didn't receive one of our Jesus-centered Bibles yet and you're part of the youth group, then please let me know and I'll make sure I have one of those for you as well. So see you on over in the Zoom for some fun and hangout time.